Hello students. So today we are going to start the postulates of quantum mechanics. We will talk about what are the rules. Actually postulates are something which are assumed to be true. We never prove them true. So we will assume that these postulates or rules which have been made by quantum mechanics are true. Okay, so these are postulates. So first postulate of quantum mechanics says the state of the system is completely specified by a wave function psi. This symbol is known as psi, which is a function of position vector and time t. Okay, psi is called a wave function. Psi star. Now psi star is a complex conjugate of psi. As we deal with the complex number in mathematics, so we mention star when we take complex conjugate. So this is the same thing. Psi is the complex conjugate of psi. So we have psi star and psi. If we multiply these two, and so this will represent the probability that the particle is present in this volume element. So when we multiply these two functions, this represents the probability of the particle which is present in this volume element at any time t. Alright. Now if we integrate this factor over certain range of position coordinates, alright, if we integrate it, because this is a small volume element, if we want to find out the probability in a large volume, so we can integrate this factor within those particular limits, and this will give the probability of finding that particle within that region, and that has to be equal to 1. Equal to 1 means it is certain that the particle is present in that volume element. Alright. If the probability doesn't come out to be 1, it means the particle may or may not be present, like that. So here I have used this symbol d tau at the place of dx, dy, dz. So this volume element can be given by d tau. Now psi leads to the calculation of all the observables. What are observables? The measurable properties. All those properties which we want to measure or we want to find are called observables. So what happens when we know psi? We can further calculate all the observables. It means all the measurable properties. What are these measurable properties? Energy, momentum, kinetic energy, potential energy, etc. So this was the first postulate of quantum mechanics. Alright. Now I will talk about wave function in detail in next lecture, because today in this lecture I will simply explain what are the postulates. Total there are 5 postulates. Postulate 1 we have discussed, then postulate 2, 3, 4 and 5, and I will discuss these postulates in detail in later lecture. So we said psi is a wave function. Alright, there should be some properties of psi then. So the properties are: psi must be a normalized wave function. It must be finite and continuous. It must be single valued. So what is the meaning of these different terms? Psi must be normalized. The condition of normalization is this. This is the condition of normalization. Condition of normalization. It means the probability within the limits. The limits are of our choice, where we want to find out whether the particle is present or not. So the finding out the probability within the limits is called normalization, and this probability has to be 1. Why? When the probability is 1, it means we are sure that the particle is present within those limits. So that is called normalization condition. To find out normalization condition, what we do, we take complex conjugate of psi, multiply it with psi and take its integration over that particular interval. If that comes out to be 1, we say that this wave function is normalized. Alright, second is it must be finite and continuous. It means the value of wave function for all the position coordinates at all the times should be a finite value. It should never come equal to infinity. And it should be continuous. There should not be any break. Like when we draw a graph or we plot this wave function versus position coordinates, there should not be any break in between. It should be continuous. Third is it must be single valued. Single valued means for each value of x, y, z coordinates, psi must possess only one value. Okay. If the function is repeating itself, I mean to say, if we have two sets of position coordinates for which the wave function is coming out to be same, that wave function is not acceptable. Now let's see some examples. First example is cos x within the limit 0 and infinity. As we know, the cos function goes like this. It is continuous. It is continuous. It doesn't have any break in between. But the problem is it is not finite. It is going till infinity. You will keep on putting the values of different thetas and the values will go till infinity. Second function is e raised to power x within the limits minus infinity and infinity. Now let's see. This graph goes like this. Alright, it means it is going till infinity, or we can simply find out by substituting the values of minus psi and psi. Like when e raised to power, we take minus infinity, this will be 1 by e raised to power infinity, 1 by infinity, which is 0. This is alright. Now what happens at infinity? E raised to power infinity is equal to, it comes out to be infinity. Hence, this is not acceptable. Alright. This one was this was not acceptable. Though it is a single valued function. For each value of y, it will have only one value of, for each corresponding value of x, it will have only one value of y. Take a third example is e raised to power minus x over the range 0 till infinity. Now what happens over here? When we substitute 0, it becomes 1. E raised to power minus x is equal to 1 by e raised to power x, or 1 by e raised to power 0. 1 by 1 is equal to 1, which is a finite value. Now when we substitute infinity, it becomes minus infinity. 1 by e raised to power infinity. Infinity means this term becomes infinity, and which is approximately equal to 0. It means these two values are finite. So within this interval, this is finite, single valued, continuous. This is an acceptable wave function. Okay. Let's see some more examples from the graph, whether these wave functions are acceptable or not. In first case, we have a continuous curve. If I put the range from 0 to a, this function is finite. Okay, so within this range, this function is finite. Here it is x and this one is y. So this is finite, this is continuous, this is single valued. For each value of x, it will have only one value of y. Only one value of y for each value of x. Alright. So this will be an acceptable wave function. Now comes the second one. Over here we have this kind of curve which is finite, as we can see. This is continuous, no break in between. But what is the problem? If I take this value of x, there are three values of y, y1, y2 and y3. So this is not a single valued function. So this is not acceptable. This one is acceptable. Now comes third wave function. What happens? The first thing I can see is there is a break in between. The function is not continuous. Its continuity is breaking over here. So we can say this is not acceptable. What happens in this curve again? This is a continuous, this seems to be finite, and this is single valued again. For each value of x, it will have only one value of y. Okay, so this is again an acceptable wave function. So this way you can find out whether a function is acceptable or not from its curve also. Or the best thing is, if you are given a mathematical function, you must keep in mind certain points. First point was it should be single valued. You can calculate the value within those provided limits. It should be finite. The value must come out to be finite. It should be continuous. Continuity you cannot check like this, but you will get some idea on seeing that function. But you always take the second order derivative. If the second order derivative exists, it means that function will be acceptable. The second postulate says, for any classical observable, there corresponds a linear Hermitian quantum mechanical operator. Now here two terms are appearing. First is linear and Hermitian. Okay, so we will do about these two terms in detail in the later classes. What does this postulate mean is, in classical mechanics we have different properties like mass, energy, kinetic energy, potential energy, momentum, etc. And in quantum mechanics we have operators corresponding to these all properties like kinetic energy operator, potential energy operator, total energy operator, momentum operator, etc. This is the meaning of this second postulate. And these all the operators should be linear. Linear, we will do what is the meaning of linear, and should be Hermitian also. Hermitian we will again do in the later classes, later lectures. So what are these observable? First is total energy. The symbol for total energy will be capital E, and the corresponding operator is capital H cap. We call it H cap, which is equal to minus H bar square upon 2m. This is del operator, del square plus V x y z. We will discuss about all these terms and we will derive these expressions also. So you need not worry about these expressions and symbols. We will do in detail later, and simply note these operators down. The second is potential energy. The symbol for potential energy is capital V, and the corresponding operator is represented by capital V cap, which is equal to V as a function of x, y and z, position coordinates. Now the third property is kinetic energy. The symbol for kinetic energy is T in quantum mechanics, and the corresponding kinetic energy operator is T cap, which is equal to minus H bar square upon 2m. Again, this total is the expansion of del square. This total expression is expansion of del square. So I can simply write del square over here, or okay, you can write this way also. This is kinetic energy operator. Now comes position. Position is simply represented by x if we are taking in one direction. It can be x, y or z, whatever. And r is the position vector, which is a function of x, y and z, all the three position coordinates. So if we are taking position as x in one direction, the operator will be x cap And if we are taking this position vector, so this vector will be is equal to xi cap plus yj cap plus zk cap. Next is momentum. Momentum, symbol for the momentum is px if the momentum is taken in one direction, in x direction. So we have px, py and pz for all the three directions, and this capital P is the total momentum. So symbol for x direction momentum operator is minus iota h bar d upon dx. This is full derivative because we are considering only one direction. Now over here we have total momentum operator capital P cap, which is equal to minus iota h cap h bar, and this is partial derivative x, y and z. So all the three coordinators are taken into consideration. The postulate 3 says any measurement of observable A will only yield eigenvalues of A. Okay, so it means if A is an operator corresponding to an observable in classical mechanics. For example, if A is position operator, I say position operator, and X is the position. So when I apply this operator on this wave function, if I am getting some constant value and the same wave function, so that constant value will be one of the possible values of that position. Okay, or let me simplify this further. This equation is known as eigenvalue equation. This equation is eigenvalue equation. Eigenvalue equation. Eigenvalue equation means if you apply an operator on some wave function and in return you are getting some constant value which belongs to real numbers and multiplied with the same wave function. So we are applying an operator on a wave function, we are getting some constant value and the same wave function again is coming out to be here. So this kind of equation is eigenvalue equation. For example, if I have a function which is e raised to power 2x, assume that I have this function psi is equal to this, and I have an operator. I am just taking an example, so I have not checked whether this is continuous, single valued or whatever, but I am taking an example to prove the eigenvalue equation. So operator is d upon dx. Take this operator. Now I apply this operator on this wave function. I will get d upon dx. So psi over here is e raised to power 2x. So what I am getting is 2 e raised to power 2x. Here this is a constant value. I can say this is a and this is again our wave function. So what we are getting is, we can say a psi is equal to a psi, small a psi. Here this a is equal to 2, which is a real number and a constant. So this kind of equation is known as eigenvalue equation. This is an eigenvalue of a. It means all the possible values, there will be a set of a for all the possible values for it. So a is one of those possible values. It will always be one of the possible value for that observable. This is what the third postulate is saying. It is saying any measurement of observable A will only yield eigenvalues of A. So this is a set of all the possible values for A, and whenever you apply this on a wave function, you will always get some value from only this set. this value will not be beyond this set. So this was the third postulate. So one more thing over here. This will be known as eigenvalue of A, and psi will be an eigenfunction of A. It means when you change psi, the value of A will be changed, but the value will remain out of a particular set. The fourth postulate of quantum mechanics is, if a system is described by a wave function psi, then the average value of A is given by this equation. This equation number 1. Average symbol for average value is this kind of symbol, and it is given by, within the limits you take psi star, in between take operator, and then psi and d tau, the volume element, and over here it's minus infinity to infinity, psi star, psi and d tau in the denominator. Okay, so we have already seen in postulate 2, this equation is normalization condition. This is normalization condition. Now what happens when we say the function is normalized? This becomes is equal to 1. So now we can write the average value for that observable will be minus infinity to plus infinity. These are the limits, maximum limits. Psi star, psi, d tau. This becomes the average value. Now from eigenvalue equation, what we have? We have A psi is equal to small a psi, right? We had this. We can substitute this value over here in this expression. Then the average value becomes psi star a psi d tau. A is a constant and a real number. We can take this a out of this integral sign. So it will be small a minus infinity plus infinity psi star psi d tau. Now see, again this equation becomes normalization condition. So we can again substitute this factor is equal to 1. It means the average value is again the eigenvalue for that particular wave function, for eigenvalues particular that function for that operator. So this becomes the equation. Alright, there is one more thing. We have a term standard deviation. Standard deviation, which is given by sigma. If this is for A, operator A or observable A, we can write it like A. So the expression for this standard deviation, square of standard deviation, is equal to square of average value of A minus this whole square. Or we can say standard deviation of A can be given as root of A square, so average value, minus this. If we substitute the corresponding values A over here, so this will be A square minus a square. If this term comes out to be equal to 0, if the standard deviation comes out equal to 0, which is sigma a is equal to 0, we can say there is a certainty in that property, or we can say the uncertainty is absent. The last postulate of quantum mechanics is the wave function evolves in the time according to time dependent Schrodinger wave equation. It means the position of the particle is completely specified by wave function psi and a wave equation which is known as Schrodinger wave equation, and this equation is time dependent. But in our course we have to deal with time independent equation. So how to derive time independent equation from time dependent equation? So the equation which is Schrodinger's wave equation, which is time dependent, is given by this expression. Alright, here H is Hamiltonian operator. This is a total energy operator. Total energy operator. As we have already discussed, total energy means kinetic energy plus potential energy. But this operator is time independent. Time independent. So we can write H is time independent. We must separate this psi into two different functions of R and T, so as we can operate this time independent wave function on the wave function which is not considering time. So what is the next step? We can substitute this psi RT as a multiple of some other functions. Take one, we can again write it psi, which is a position R, and we can say phi. So we assume that we have separated this psi dash, which is a function of only position, and this phi, which is a function of time. We can substitute this over here. Once we substitute this, we will get H psi dash R phi T is equal to iota H bar. Here we have psi dash R and phi T. So we can, now in the next step, we will separate the variables. Here the variable is T. We will keep phi T inside and psi dash R will come out of this derivative sign. So the expression will be, and again over here also, this operator can be operated only on psi R, because I have already said this is time independent, and this phi T will come outside. Or we can take this phi T on the other side, because all the T variable functions are on the other side. So I can write it like H psi dash R is equal to iota H bar phi T psi dash R phi T upon T. This is the equation, or I can further modify it. So this will be 1 by psi R operator psi dash R, it will be equal to H bar 1 by phi T and phi t upon curl t. So this is the final expression. Now all the position coordinate terms are on the left side and time dependent terms are on the right side. So these are two. This method is called separation of variables. So we have separated the two variables, position and time. So we can substitute this is equal to some another function. Say it is t, capital T. We will see later what the meaning of t is. So compare this equation with this. You will have is equal to E this is time independent Schrodinger's wave equation. Wave equation. We mark it equation number 1. Now what comes from here when we equate this term with E? This will be iota h bar phi t is equal to E. Alright, so what we do, we will find out the solution of this differential equation. So when we rearrange the terms of this equation, we will get this kind of expression. Alright, you have taken iota there, downwards, h bar, then multiply with iota into numerator and denominator. So it will become minus iota h bar e dt. Now when you integrate within the limits, you will get log of phi t, which is equal to E simple t. Or on further simplification, we can write it like is equal to e raised to power minus iota is equal to e raised to power minus iota e by h bar t. So this will be the solution of time function of time dependent part of the function. Alright, and the final equation which came out to be psi star r is equal to E psi star r. This equation is time independent Schrodinger's wave equation. This equation is of our concern. We will derive this equation in the next class. We will solve the Schrodinger wave equation for different systems in our later classes. So this entire course is actually about Schrodinger wave equation. This holds a very prime importance in quantum mechanics.